Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Force here from Force Strategy Gaming, commentating a game for you today between IMMVP and Liquid's Huck. We can see over here in the bottom left of Zelnaga Caverns, that's where we are. We do have the blue Protoss player as Liquid Huck, and in the top right we do of course have IMMVP as the Red Terran player. Both strong players. Really going to be looking forward to this matchup. That is most certainly the case there. We can see Huck actually tried to start off with the putting the workers on the closest possible mineral patches there. Seeing a lot of players doing that over the past month or so. I've been saying that's becoming kind of a recurring theme. You can see again Huck pulling on over there. Is this kind of going to be used for the most efficient mining, getting your workers to the closest patches, as opposed to these ones that are a little bit further away. Take a look over here. We can see Huck now moving out with the scout, starting the game off as expected with that 9 pylon, and then scouting immediately after the fact. Going to be moving straight on into MVP's base and getting a good idea of what he's going to be doing. I'm just going to call him MVP, by the way. I don't want to say I am MVP every time. That can get a little redundant, so MVP will work. It'll do. I think you guys will be able to figure out who the hell I'm referring to. And look at this right there, a little hidden barracks in the corner. Let's take a look at Huck Vision, see what he sees. Is he going to go down and actually check for that? No, he didn't scout quite far enough. Now, he could be very well now forced to look for a proxy somewhere. I'm going to actually expect that he's going to pull down with this and try to check for a proxy, because he has still not spotted that barracks at all. Is he going to actually move down there or not? Does he bother checking for a proxy? He hasn't done it yet. There we go. Finally moving on down to scout that. So there you have it. MVP trying for a little bit of trickery, but it didn't quite work, unfortunately, for him. The main idea behind that, of course, was to try to force Huck to pull some guy off the line to check his base for a proxy, or check outside of his base for a proxy. But Huck, of course, deciding, hey, let me make sure I'm fully aware of what's going on inside of MVP's base before I stop any mining to try to check for something like that. So barracks right now finished. The first Marine coming on through right now. Orbital command and refinery. Besides the actual placement of the barracks, everything so far has been very, very standard for MVP. Taking a look over here for Huck, looking pretty standard as well. Actually, second assimilator right there. Before the Cybernex core, so that's a somewhat early second assimilator. You usually will see the first Cybernex core before that does come out, so Huck may be going for a very, very tech-heavy build. That's going to kind of be the implication behind that. Now taking a look over here, SCV Scout moving on in for MVP, going to be scouting inside of Huck's base. He's going to see the fact that that second assimilator is already up right now before that Cybernex core is even finished, so there you have it. Looks like we are seeing a reactor right now for MVP on that first barracks. Second barracks coming up right now through as well. Still just on that one refinery. So it could be very well actually looking for a quick expansion. Doesn't look like he's actually going for a 3 racks, because I would expect that other racks to be out by now. In fact, he's going to go for that full wall up there. Yeah, so I'm fully expecting a 2 racks expand. That's what I'm kind of going to guess MVP is going to be doing right now. We can see Huck moving on up with that probe for some secondary scouting. Is going to need to be careful though. Doesn't want to get too close to that Marine. Take a look over here, SCV Scout moving along the edge, checking for any possible proxy tech. I'm going to assume that that is what that is for. Now let's pay attention to Huck right now, because I really do want to see what he ends up doing, given the fact that he did get that second assimilator a little bit earlier than what is pretty much usual. So yeah, definitely going to be interested to see precisely what his intentions are. There's a second and third gateway coming on out, so Huck starting off with those 3 gateways. This is not going to be a 3-gate expand though, given the fact that he does have so much Vespian pooled. He is going to be going for something somewhat techy. That is most certainly the case. Bunch of Marines out right now. Going to be trying to chase down the Stalker. Now Huck doing the right thing by just trying to soften up these Marines. That's the whole point. These Marines are not going to get any healing until later in the game when the medevacs are in place. So just soften them up without really losing anything himself. He lost his shields, but those of course were charged. This is a pretty popular and effective tactic as a Protoss player. Taking a look over here for a Huck, still nothing in terms of transition, still pulling a ton of Espions, so here we go. Just let's wait and see, again, what he intends on doing with that. Maybe he just wants to go sentry heavy and just going to start pounding those out. But uh-oh, losing 1 Stalker already, and it looks like a push is coming from MVP right now. There's a lot of Marines, a couple Marauders there as well. Again, he still is just on these 2 racks right now, so he's just pumping out at 2 racks, but he is going to expand, actually dropping that proxy pylon as well. So yeah, I am expecting that expansion soon. There it is, in fact, MVP going for that 2 racks expand. That's pretty much expected by what he was going with in the early stages of the game. There's a Robo right now. And where did all of his Vespian go? Looks like it was pretty much just used on those sentries. So yeah, instead of going for that super fast tech, he just kind of wanted that extra early Vespian for a lot of early game sentries for the defense. He could probably be even going for Colossus right now. That would be another reason for getting that second assimilator as early as he did, saving it up so that as soon as he gets that bay down, once the robotics facility finishes and he gets that bay down, he's going to be able to actually just start pumping out Colossus right away. We did see a proxy pylon was building over here. Looks like Huck ended up killing it though, or canceling it off because he saw MVP was moving up and may have very well just sniped it down. No reason to kind of lose those unnecessarily. One Stalker going to take out this Marine. Looks like a free kill there for Huck. Going and getting this Zelnaga as well with both Stalkers. He's got a pretty clear idea as what's going on. Robotics facility just finishing right now. Huck also coming out with his Expo right now. We do have an observer coming on through. Let's see what he ends up deciding to do. Well, now that robotics, wow, he is actually going to be going for 2 additional gateways. So look at that. Was just trying to go sentry heavy. You can see right now 5 sentries in play. So really unbelievable. He just really wanted to go sentry heavy early in the game. But there are 2 more gateways coming out right now for Huck. So there you have it. He's going to be sticking pretty gateway heavy for at least this portion of the game. MVP getting ready to move on into his expansion. You can see the command center has finished, changing that into an orbital right now. And again, still just on these 2 gateways. Let's take a quick look here at the army tab. Both players about even. Doesn't really look like either player is going to be pushing out anytime soon, since both players are going for this expansion. Actually, Huck getting ready for that possible 3rd expansion right here as well. Going to be knocking down these rocks and then eventually dropping the Nexus over here as well. Just now, he does want to open up that avenue for when that eventually does happen. We do see Combat Shield coming out over here for MVP. Here's that Observer Scout. He's got to be really, really careful about walking too close. Oh, there we go. Scan going down. MVP spotting the Observer there, dropping the scan and sniping that out of the sky very, very quickly. One Marauder moving down to engage the Stalker. Going to actually do a bit of damage and pulling forward with the rest of his army there. Going to try to get a free kill here of the Stalker. Does he get it? Yes, he does. One Stalker down. Second Stalker is going to make it for now, but looks like MVP may actually just try to be doing a little poking and prodding right now. Moving forward with this Marine and Marauder army, the Stalker is actually going to force to be pushed back to the main base. He does want everything he has to actually defend against this. Doesn't want to take any unnecessary losses. But here we go. Marines and Marauders moving down. Nice force fields there. Didn't catch too many guys, but did get a few free kills. Ended up losing 1 Zealot. There's a 2nd Zealot down. 3rd Zealot in danger of those concussive shells. Marine, 1 Soul Marine. There we go. That does get sniped. MVP. Again, just poking and prodding. He's not really looking to push too hard here against Huck. He just wants to see what Huck has going on, and he just wants to see if he can do a little bit of damage. Huck trying to move down with his Observer Scout to find out where the army of MVP is. We can see, looks like he is going to be hightailing it back on home right now. Taking a look back in Huck's base, just on the 5 gateways right now, still with that Robo facility there. Still needs that Robotics Bay, though, to work on up to Colossus. Looks like he's holding off for the time being on that, though. Back in MVP's base, he does have that Starport coming out. There's that factory with the reactor, so of course going to be seeing some double medevacs here, and eventually that transition into double Vikings. At the same time, Robotics Bay getting dropped right now for Huck, and where precisely is he putting that? Robotics Bay going to be sitting right over here. Zelnaga controlled by the 1 Marine. There's that Observer just chilling out over here. Marine also spotting the possible 3rd of Huck, so MVP will be fully aware as soon as Huck tries to move down to get this 3rd. I don't know if Huck's actually going to be doing it right now. He could try to. He's getting to the point where he can afford it, but I'm almost expecting him to start churning out those Colossus now, of course, since that bay is just about finished. And actually, Huck possibly changing his mind. Going to be deciding to actually move the 3rd to this high yield here instead of going to that kind of natural progression 3rd. He's going to be pushing up a little bit closer towards the center of the map, grabbing the high yield. Of course, you do have to be wary because this is a little bit more vulnerable than an expansion down over here, just a little bit closer to your opponent's base. Looks like that Stalker did take this, but 1 Marauder going to come down and try to take care of that Stalker. He should actually be able to get him. I'm going to expect him to take care of that. Yes, in fact, there we go. So you can see just how strong that Marauder is, able to take on that Stalker even when he started off at kind of not optimal, not full health. Looks like another Marauder is going to be taking the place of the prior one that is at low health, and I might try to get rid of that Stalker over there as well. So anyways, yes, both players right now just teching up as expected. We can see just Marines and Marauders pumping out right now. We do have that level 1 armor coming out, as well as there's the double medevacs. So going to be churning out some medevacs here as well. Taking a look over here for Huck. Well, what does he have going on? Just going to be working with this Gateway army for the moment, but we do have those Colossus coming out. There's that Thermal Lance as well. So that is of course the expected transition as a Protoss player against a Terran bio-heavy army, that is, of course, what you're going to want to do. As we've seen here, both players been vying for control of the center of the map, trying to make sure that they have control of the Xel'Naga towers and their opponent doesn't. That, of course, is a great idea. Whoever has control of that center is going to be fully aware when a push eventually does come from your opponent. So obviously, that is definitely suggested. Wow, it's that word there was definitely difficult for me. We can take a look over here. Huck looking to move out a little bit. Nope, just kind of dancing around in front of his natural. Not, in fact, going to be pushing out quite as of yet. MVP still dancing around the center over here as well. Observer moving on back home for Huck. So neither player really been too aggressive so far this game. Neither player really been pushing out. They've both been kind of just testing the waters and just kind of moving back and forth, but nothing too aggressive from either of them yet. Just like I just mentioned, a macro-focused, macro-heavy game. MVP coming out with that Ghost Academy right now. EMP is, of course, going to be great for the shields against that Protoss army. The other big thing is, of course, depleting these sentries of energy, and if an eventual transition to High Templar comes out, then those ghosts are pretty much invaluable at that point. Kenzie sitting right now on the 3 ghosts. Does he have more? No, just the 3 at this point in time. There we go. Taking a look at the armor tab once more. Again, both players pretty much steady, pretty much about even. No one having a clear, distinct advantage quite as of yet. A Ghost chilling out over here by that tower, so that's pretty exciting. And it looks like Huck might be trying to push forward a little bit right now. In fact, he is going to be moving on forward with the Stalkers. Colossus right there in the front as well. Does, of course, need to be careful. Those Ghosts primed and ready for some EMP action. They do want to make sure that the rest of the army is prepared to engage, though, right before the EMP, because otherwise Huck, as soon as getting EMP'd, would just pull his units back and try to let those shields recharge. So you got to make sure you're actually fully prepared for that engagement. And wow, actually Huck, very nice play there, forcing MVP to pull back with that command center. MVP realizing, hey, it's not time to push. I don't want to lose this unnecessarily, and was a little bit concerned that he didn't actually have the army size necessary to deal with what Huck was throwing at him. Charge lot's going to be coming into play. Here's another Colossus dropped on the board, and there is that 3rd expansion right now for Huck. So Huck may very well start mining from this much faster than MVP does himself. A little contingent of Marines over here moving on down to that possible 3rd. MVP doesn't know at this point, though, that wait, no, he's just going actually around. There we go. I was going to say he does have this Marine spotting over here, so he's going to be moving around with these Marines and going to be trying to tear through the resource line here of Huck. Going to be a little difficult, though. We can see 3 cannons, also this wall off here of those pylons, making that a little more difficult for those Marines to push in. Huck's going to have plenty advanced warning when he sees that these pylons are getting attacked, so very nice there by Huck, placing those, again, giving him that advanced warning once these Marines do eventually try to push in. Here we go, pulling on forward right now. MVP is getting ready for this transition, actually changing that into an orbital command, so deciding he doesn't want that planetary fortress for the middle. One Stim Marine going to be moving on down. What will he encounter? He's going to encounter a little bit too much. He does need to be careful taking out the worker, but looks like he's going to lose his life as a result. Do not know if that was a fair trade or not. MVP looks like he is primed and ready to push. Lots of Vikings into play. Now he is comfortable dealing with those Colossus. There are 4 Colossus on the board, and going to be trying to take out this Expo before it does get in. Nice force fields. Big EMP going down as well. Looks like those Vikings going to start target firing those Colossus, but no, deciding to push back. There were a little too many Stalkers. At the same time, here we go, Marine push, moving on through, taking out that cannon, then going to be going straight to work on the line as expected. This is going to be a bit of damage. Here come those Charge Zealots, moving down with a few sentries as well. Going to have a few more Warpins as Zealots at the same time. Push up Marines and Marauders moving on. Huck's Expo over here, some force fields going down. Is it going to be enough? I'm not sure. The Colossus absolutely raining hell. The Marines have been taken care of by those Charge Zealots over there, and I do not know that MVP has enough, but those Vikings sniping down those Colossus, so much damage, but it looks like the Bio Army just isn't enough here for MVP. Again, the Vikings have done a great job of dealing with those Colossus, but there are still plenty of ground forces over here for Huck. He did manage to push back the Bio Army of MVP. MVP might actually be happy with that engagement. Let's take a quick look at the units lost. Looks like resource-wise, they are pretty much both about equal right now. MVP is going to make it back home with a few more Marauders as well, but Huck primed and ready for an attack. He didn't lose this expansion, but why not at least try to take out the Expo of MVP? So here it comes. There are a lot of Marines and Marauders right there. We do have one Mortal in there. Needs to target fire those Marauders. Definitely going to be most effective against that. Forcing the lift off there. Very low in HP. That thing is going to need to repair, or else it's going to get taken down very, very shortly. Looks like it is getting repaired from those mules, but very nice play there by Huck. Stopping that mining at least momentarily and forcing the repair. One big thing to realize too with that forced repair is it costs resources to repair, so you're depleting your opponent's resources by forcing them to repair that building. So excellent work there by Huck. Huck definitely that was a good situation for him, most certainly. It looks like is he going to be coming out with any more? No, he's not. So pretty much all done with that Colossus train. Going to be switching into Immortals. Going to be looking to just be very gateway heavy. Would have that Blink research coming out as well. Would really like to see some Templar archives come into play here so we can see some high Templar. Using that Size Storm, of course, going to be very effective. There's still a lot of Vikings for MVP, and this could actually be very, very good for Huck, because realize again, Huck has pretty much stopped that Colossus production. He does have one coming on through right now. As I mentioned that, actually, there's that Dark Shrine as well. Here we go, Stim Marines and Mirage with all those medevacs trying to roll forward right now. There's a lot of charged zealots, so Blink is just about finished too for those stalkers. That's going to make them much, much more effective. Those charged zealots are definitely very threatening to this Bio army. It does force that to push back. Most of those units were sitting in that Guardian Shield as well, of course, decreasing the amount of damage that they take from these Marines and Marauders. And it looks like MVP is just a little tentative right now against so many Vikings in play. And as we saw, with not a lot of Colossus left for Huck, it's not going to be that effective, and these are pretty much useless resources once he does take down that one Colossus that's out. But actually, no, a second Colossus coming out, so it looks like these Vikings may still be useful at some point soon. We can see again that Dark Shrine coming on through. Would really like to see how Huck is able to utilize that. Going to be trying to move forward with some Blink Stalkers, just kind of teasing the army of these Marines and Marauders, taking advantage of that Blink off cooldown though. Going to snipe down that one Stalker there. Still, just keep checking out those Vikings. And again, the Blink Stalkers pulling down. I think they killed one Viking there. Looks like we're going to be seeing a drop very, very shortly from MVP, one of those medevacs with very low HP, but he's expecting to actually get there pretty much unscathed, go for that drop in the main base and do some building sniping. Looks like those are filled with Marauders, so yeah, there you have it. Going to be seeing some Stim Marauders and trying to snipe down some of these buildings here of Huck. This could be very devastating for Huck. Huck does need to be careful. Marines and Marauders are going to be primed to push out at the same time. Here go those Dark Templar rolling on in. Gonna be interested to see how effective he can be with that. There are the Marauders gonna snipe down the one robotics facility there. Huck's forced to push back with some units at the same time. There's the DT, actually gonna be going straight for the main and start to try to do some work over there. Marauders have been forced to push back. This one medevac lifting off. He did snipe that robotics, but it looks like besides that there wasn't a whole heck of a lot else. There's the DT in the main doing a little bit of damage. I think that's the only one though. Are there any other DT? Yes, that's the only DT. And Stim going down, sniping down the one Colossus, second Colossus, dangerously close. Nice force fields there though by Huck, forcing MVP to lift up his units. Those charged zealots, again, so threatening to this Bio army. Blink Stalkers should come into play at some point. There we go, Blink Stalkers pulling them closer to those medevacs, going to start sniping those down, and Huck just decimating the army here of MVP. MVP is sitting on very little right now. I am not sure what he's going to do. He does have some forces back in the middle over here, but is he going to engage with it? He's losing so much over here. Also realize a lot of supply is sloughed in those medevacs as well as those Vikings there, and that's not going to actually help him too much because Huck getting ready for a push right now. These medevacs not doing a lot. There's nothing in them. A couple Blink Stalkers over there. Charged Zealot's going to be going straight into those Marauders. Looks like we're going to be seeing some attempted, oh no, those are orbital commands, not planetary fortresses, but the Colossus does get sniped down. Those Vikings took care of that very, very quickly. Those Stim Marines and Marauders are doing a really great job at kiting, but it's very difficult with those Charged Zealots in play. Looks like another drop has been going over here for MVP, but he's not engaging with that yet. Charged Zealots just continuing to mop up the Bio army. Here are those Blink Stalkers as well. Looks like MVP is forced to come down with these SCVs to try to get us around, but is it enough? He's throwing away so much right now. Here are those Marauders moving on into the main base, going to start sniping some of those buildings. My gosh, there's so much going on all over the place, and those Stalkers just tearing through with the Charged Zealots, the Bio army of MVP. MVP doesn't look to have a lot. Looks like Huck did mop up the forces that were in his base, going to be dropping pylons to repower those gateways, and MVP is stuck back in his main base. Blink Stalkers moving on through. Immortal's going to be tearing through these buildings here. MVP looking to be on the ropes right now. I do not think he's got enough to contend with this at this point in the game, and there is the WW. Or whatever you will take that to be. I'm not sure what that means. That's well something. Well wind? Well, someone tell me what that means. So anyways, we had a very macro-focused opening from both players in this game. We saw MVP open with a 2 racks expand and Liquid Huck moving with a 3-gate robo into expand. It wasn't until 10 minutes into the game that we saw our first action. This was just IMMVP poking and prodding and doing a little bit of damage here. You can see a little bit of harassment going down. Managed to kill a few workers. But this was the first bout of action that we saw all game. Both players continued up the macro focus, with Huck looking to move into his 3rd from his natural. Huck also getting up his bay, moving into that typical Gateway and Colossus build as a Protoss player. MVP also working with a fairly standard Terran composition against a Protoss opponent, going heavy Marine Marauder with some medevacs and then transitioning into Vikings as well. As Huck was moving into his 3rd, MVP set up for the first big engagement by setting some distraction and harassing Marines to the natural of Huck. And then at the very same time as those Marines were moving to the natural, MVP moved right into the third of Huck. Now Huck was, unfortunately for MVP, fully prepared for this. Pulling forward, we see some really nice force fields there from Huck, and the Colossus just absolutely roasted the bio army of MVP. Now MVP did eventually mop up this Colossus with his Vikings, but unfortunately it wasn't until he lost the majority of his bio army. After that engagement, Huck did move out for a counterattack with what he had left of gateway units, and they actually ended up forcing the liftoff of the third of MVP. This was a big victory for Huck, and the fact that it stopped MVP from mining for quite some time. We saw both players simultaneously going out for some mid-game harass, with Huck moving out with some Dark Templar, and MVP going for a Stim Marauder drop. MVP tried once more to move into Huck's third, but got completely mopped up by Charged Zealots and Blink Stalkers, and upon losing his bio army after this big engagement, Huck just had to move out for a counterattack for the GG. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the game. Remember, if you like the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and as always guys, keep watching and keep owning.